Hi, this is going to be a demonstration of a new tool in TriangleFive that will load in the latest FHX export from a DeltaV system. As you know, there are many sites or plants that will generate a daily export of the FHX system, and this new tool will automatically load that latest FHX and run the DeltaV Explorer on it. That way you don't have to spend time waiting 5-10 minutes to download the FHX file. And this new tool is called TriangleFive AutoLoad. There are two ways to do it. One is to look at a fixed folder, and within that folder you will filter by looking at all the FHX files and load the latest FHX file into the system. Another one is to set up a folder that, for example, some sites may have create new folders that within that new folder you have a new FHX file. So I'll do two demonstrations of that. The way it works is that you are given choices to look at those folders for the latest FHX file based on a scan period, which in this case we set it to X number of seconds, and when the time expires you'll execute and look for that file. You could do it once and only once based on a time date. When it reaches a certain time date, you could do it to scan on a daily basis at X amount of time. This is probably the most useful one. Let's say for every day at 3 o'clock you may want to load the latest FHX file. That's usually the export's usually done later at night anyways. Or you could do it weekly if for those sites that do not regularly export the FHX file, or monthly. So if it's month, it'll be the day of the month and the time. If it's weekly, it'll be day of the week and the time. Daily will just be the time. Once is a date and time. For example, we'll just use time cycles of 30 seconds. Right now this is set up such that you click on this, you select the folder that you want to look for the FHX file, you double click on this, and this path will appear. So suppose in this folder when you start it, you already have an FHX file in there. If nothing happens, you automatically download the FHX file. But let's say suppose before 30 seconds is up, the system export a new FH file on it, and it's called FHX latest. Let's call it latest 2. Delete this. Copy. So you go. So it detects these two files. The way I've set it up such the latest one has a more recent date. It basically look at the FHX files and look at the date. Now it automatically starts load that FHX file. In this example, this is a small FHX file, but if you got a large one, it will take a certain period of time. So you log in. And the system automatically it's already loaded, so it's already there. That way when you get in the beginning of the day, you can look at it, everything's already loaded. And you also notice that this is scanned every 30 seconds. What it does when it first loads it in, it remembers that you already load this file in there, and next time when the time expires, it says, hey, wait a minute, it's already been loaded in, I don't need to redo it. So that's what happened there. Now let's suppose for a new one, but it will detect if there's a new one, you automatically load that. So in this here we have the buffering option. Buffering is useful to quickly navigate the FHX file. What happens when you select on node is it looks in the memory and gathers all the information it needs to create this view here. But once it's already created, and especially when there's a large FHX file, for this to populate, it may take as long as 10 seconds. But if you buffer that file, that information, next time when you browse through it, it's much quicker. In this example, it's not very good because this is a relatively small file. I'm talking about FH files that's in the size of 200 to 300 megabytes, which is can be quite CPU intensive if you don't buffer it. So to help speed things up, what you could do is to say when it not only loads the FHX file, it will automatically buffer. For example, in this case, if you have this check, buffer the setup information or control strategies. By default, when you launch a program, the control strategies it'll try to buffer that. So let's say paste 2. So when this goes to 0, it should automatically detect that there's a more later file. It will basically shut this program down and then load the latest FHX file. So you've got 10 seconds, 9, 8, 7, 6. And once it's loaded, you'll automatically go through the control strategy and try to buffer all the information so that when whoever is ready to use it will be able to navigate through it quickly. So it just shut down the currently opened one, and now it's loading in the latest one. Because the control strategies are checked, you'll start go through every single node in the control strategy section and buffer all the data. So hopefully by doing this, when you're ready to use it, it should be very fast. And again, as you can see, it knows that it has already loaded this latest 2. It's not going to do anything again. So there are ways to go around that, right? So if you want to bypass it, and regardless of where it already loaded into information or not, if you click on always execute, it will always shut down DV Explorer, and whether it's latest or not, you'll load it back up. Or it may do that only once. Just do that once, the next time you'll look at the date again. So after this is done, after all the buffering is done, we'll try to execute once to show that regardless whether it was buffered or not, whether it was loaded, you will do it once again. That you might need to do if, for example, you close the current DeltaV Explorer session and you want it to automatically open up the latest one for next time when you look at it. So this is almost done. So it's automatically buffering all the information. And this is, in such a small FHX, you probably don't need that option, but for a large one, it's a good idea to do that. So how do you know if it's buffered? For example, when you click on this, if you see this red button, you know this information, it did not go through the memory to get the information. This is actually in a file which it just reads and reproduces the information. And if you want to update it and say, okay, I want to look at memory, you click on this button. It's right now, because there's no buffer data, all this information is basically from memory, which should be identical to the buffer data. And speed wise, you're not going to know the difference unless you are looking at a very large FHX file. So now what we want to do is execute once. So no matter what, we want to shut this down and reload it. But this time, once you reload it, get rid of all the buffer data. But that may be what you would want to do anyways. That's what you would need to do. So 3, 2, 1, 0. So it shuts it down, and it goes into here and look at the latest one, and it should be the same as before, buffer 2. So there it is. And as you know, if it's only once, the check mark will disappear. If you select on this always, that will always do it when the time is up, regardless which cycle you're looking at. So that's the first example. The second example would be we are looking at a folder. Let's create a new folder. Okay, and we have, let's suppose the system is set up such a way that it creates a new folder, and let's put it like this, paste. Okay, CFHX, temp, test, okay, cut. Okay, let's close this. Paste. Okay, so in the second example, we are going to stop this. If this is running, as you know, it locks everything out. You cannot switch, so you need to stop it first, then switch to this folder. And currently there's no subfolders. Okay, so we're saying now in this example, if there's a new folder, go to that latest new folder and load the latest FHX file within that folder. So let's start this. So let's say while it's monitoring during the day, the DeltaV Explorer creates a new folder, and in this folder you got the FHX file. So when this gets to 0, and this should execute, and this gets to 0, there, 5, 4, you'll update this to show the new folder. There it is, you got the new folder. It goes to new folder and you notice that file, and it should launch the file from the new folder. So you can see the path here, test new folder FHX file. And this option is only useful if you know when you export to a new folder all the time within another subfolder. So if we create another folder, and we have a file, so it knows that there's a new folder too. So close the existing DeltaV Explorer and opens up a new one, and you will load in the new folder 2 for new folder 2. So this is useful, extremely useful if you want to load the latest FHX on its own by itself every day. If you export every day, and then you can automatically buffer the data such that when you're ready to use it, everything is fast and it's already loaded. And that concludes the demonstration of this program.